Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, texts 20 through 23. Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyan atmani tushyati sukham atyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam matindriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitas chalati tattvatah yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tatah yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samhitam. Yatra, in that state of affairs where uparamate sees, because one feels transcendental happiness, chittam, mental activities, niruddham, being restrained from matter, yoga sevaya, by performance of yoga, yatra, in which, cha, also, eva, certainly, atmana, by the pure mind, atmanam, the self, pashyan, realizing the position of atmani, in the self, tushyati, one becomes satisfied, sukham, happiness, atyantikam, supreme, yat, which, tat, that, buddhi, by intelligence, grahyam, accessible, atindriyam, transcendental, vetti, one knows, yatra, wherein, na, never, cha, also, eva, certainly, ayam, he, sthita, situated, chalati, moves, tattvatah, from the truth, yam, that which, labdhva, by attainment, cha, also, aparam, any other, labham, gain, manyate, considers, na, never, adhikam, more, tatah, than that, yasmin, in which, sthitah, being situated, na, never, dukkhena, by miseries, guruna, api, even though very difficult, vichalyate, becomes shaken, tam, that, vidyat, you must know, dukkha samyoga, of the miseries of material contact, viyogam, extermination, yoga samgnitam, called trance and yoga. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So please repeat. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self, by the pure mind, and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Purport. By practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristic of the yoga principle. So, yoga does not mean that it increases our material concept of life. What is material concept? What is this? To have this conception that I am this material body, that is the material concept of life. When we are not actually. We are not this body. We are the soul, Atma. That's why we say this is my body. If it is mine, then it is not me. Right? It's as simple as that. Even our regular grammar, if we pay attention, we will notice that we are not this body. That's why when somebody passes away, we say he has gone, he has passed away. We don't say he is lying down there, motionless. No, that is when he is unconscious, yes. But when he is passed away, we say he's passed away, he's gone. It's not that he is there yet. So, who has gone? And if we analyze scrutinizingly, the body has no missing part. While it was living and after it is so-called dead, there is no difference in the body. Only thing is the heartbeat has stopped. So is the heartbeat the person? Doesn't make sense. The thing is, if the person is there, then the heart will continue to beat. It's like if the driver is there in the car, then the engine is running. When he turns off the engine, then it will not. And if he parks the car and goes away, it will not move. So this is the first thing, that I am not the car. If the driver thinks that he is the car, and if he is driving a Japanese car, Toyota, if he thinks he is a Japanese because of that, then he has to be admitted into the mental asylum. So he does not belong in the normal society. So, and if I wear, say, a Chinese dress, I don't become a Chinese. So, similarly, our body may be Indian, our body may be human, our body may be male or female, or an ant, or a snake, or a tree, but we are not the body. So we are not human, we are not Indian, we are not male or female, none of these things. This is the first preliminary understanding of spiritual life. Now the big scientific advancement, we think that man has advanced so much, especially in this 21st century, with so much technology, but they have not even reached the beginning of knowledge. This is the beginning of knowledge, that we are not the body. They don't even know this. And this is our education system. That's not education. So, these material concepts means this, to have a material conception of life. Now, to think I am the body is just the beginning of our misconception. With that misconception, there will be so many extensions of such misconception. So in this verse, there is a description of such extensions. In the Bhagavatam 5.5.8, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 8th verse. Pumsa striya mithuni bhavametam tayor mitho hridaya granthi maho ato griha kshetra Tattvavit janasya mohoyam aham mameti. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. So now, I think I am the body and I have to have a relationship with another body. So this is the beginning of all misconception. It is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, the verdict is that anybody who thinks this is I, this body is I, and everything that belongs or related to the body is mine, he is speaking nonsense and he is as good as an animal. And if we observe, the entire human population is thinking like this. So actually it is animal civilization. Animals cannot be civilized. It's an oxymoron. Incompatible oxymoron. So oxymoron means when you have two words beside each other that are seemingly opposite, like happily married. It's one of them. Deafening silence. Deafening means usually it's very loud sound when you say it's deafening. But deafening silence is opposite. But it makes sense. Happily married does not make sense. Now, people like to think that marriage, it's a source of happiness. That's how materially we are brainwashed to think. But Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, they don't support this viewpoint. In fact, it is the source of all troubles. So, of course, when there is regulation, then when there is Krishna consciousness, then yes, that is much better. Still there is trouble, but it's much better than not at all being Krishna conscious. Then there is animal life only. Because animals also have families. They also have mother, father and wife or girlfriends, many children, many more children than us. Humans have one or two. Previous generations we used to have more, dozen or even more. Kauravas there were 100. Nowadays not possible. 1, 2, 3. Animals are having so many. Pig is expert at producing. Every 6 months is producing half a dozen children. So, it's animal life. If we just do this and there is no Krishna consciousness, there is no inquiry into who I am. Human life begins with Brahma Jigyasa, the questioning, the inquiry of who am I? Why am I here? Where do I go after death? Is everything finished? Where did I come from? Why is everybody so different? What makes the difference? Why are there so many species? So all these things are subject matters for human inquiry. But humans today don't inquire about these things. And even if they inquire, they get cheated by wrong people. So the material concepts means this thing. And it also not only about family, but also extends even more. Country, race, species, planet. So in this way we are thinking this is ours. Or this is our planet. This is not our planet, this is Krishna's planet. We are put here for some time, after that we will be kicked out. What ours? It was there before we came and it will be there after we are gone. Gandhi thought that India was his country and he was the father of the nation and he fought for so-called independence. What kind of independence? After independence, he was shot by his own man. He still thought without him the country cannot run. He's gone and the country is still running. We think we are very important in this world. Without us, the family cannot run. I am the sole breadwinner of the family. How many times it has happened that the sole breadwinner dies and the family still continues? So these are all material concepts. Yoga means to come out of this. Yoga does not mean to go to some yoga studio, buy some yoga mat and stretch and breathe and become fit, slim, and they say sexy to attract the opposite sex. That's not yoga. That is increasing material concept. Here it is said, by practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristic of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the super soul through transcendental mind and intelligence without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the super self. So self and super self, there are two living entities in this body. There are many microbes are there. We are not talking about that. They are like parasites. But we are talking about, we are also kind of parasites only. Parasite, what is a parasite? They live at our expense. Right? That is a parasite. We are also parasite. Because we are living at the expense of other living entities. So in that way, if we see. So anyway, this body is run by one soul, but he is not the complete controller. In biology lessons we have learnt in school that the heart is an involuntary muscle. The digestive system is involuntary. What is this involuntary system? How can something work without being voluntarily pushed? That means somebody else is pushing it. Like for example, if I am driving the car, I am voluntarily pressing on the accelerator or the brake or the clutch. I am voluntarily turning the steering wheel. I am voluntarily doing some things which are at the driver's seat. But I am not voluntarily moving the pistons in the engine, or I am not charging the battery. I am not burning the fuel voluntarily. Those are involuntarily happening. That means what? What does that mean? Somebody else is doing it. Who is that? The engineer who set up the system. If the engineer did not assemble the system, we can press how much ever we want, nothing will happen. So, we think we are very powerful, I can do this, I can do that. No, nowadays, you can do it. What you can do? Nothing you can do. If the Lord does not give any facility, you cannot do anything. So we can only press the accelerator or brake or clutch. But if the system is not connected, like toy cars, some children sometimes are given something, press, nothing happens. So like that, our body will be useless. So our heart will not beat if the Lord did not arrange for it. And the digestive system, Krishna says, I am the fire of digestion, and because of that it is working. And when something, we don't even know how our digestive system looks like. We don't even know how our heart looks like. Nowadays heart symbol, everybody is doing this, doing this and like this. Actually heart doesn't look like that. You see the picture of the heart, doesn't look anything like this. It doesn't look. We think heart means like this. It's not a heart. That's not how a heart looks like. So we don't even know how things look like in our body. So who has constructed? Some people say, oh, mother. My mother constructed. She did not even know anything. She was just bearing the pain only, the weight. That's all. She does not know what is happening. So the real thing is the Lord. So there are two souls in our heart. One is ourself, Atma, and then the other is Paramatma. And the Paramatma is waiting and seeing and giving us the sanction of whatever we want to do. Whatever we want to do, he gives a sanction. If he does not give a sanction, it will not happen. Now, yoga, samadhi means that which means that the yogi realizes the super soul through transcendental mind and intelligence without any of the misgivings. Means he does not make any mistake of identifying the self with the super self. There are a class of philosophers called Mayavadis, Shankaracharya's descendants. The followers of Shankaracharya, they follow a very defective process or philosophy. They say that the Atma and Paramatma are the same. Advaitam. When we are liberated, we are one with Paramatma. We are Paramatma, as good as Paramatma. If we are as good as Paramatma, why did we get bewildered? That means, is there a power better than Paramatma that has bewildered the Paramatma and now we are ordinary Atma? What is this nonsense philosophy? The God means there is supreme and there is nobody equal to or above him. How can Maya be above him? And Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. Maya is mine. Maya Dhakshena Prakriti. Suyate Sacharacharam. Maya is my energy. So, he is the controller of Maya, we are controlled by Maya. Now, so to identify ourselves as a super self, that is the worst misconception one can have. So, samadhi means not that. Samadhi means I am an eternal servitor of the Supreme Self. Now, yoga practice is more or less based on the principles of the Patanjali system. Patanjali is the yogi who set up the Patanjali Sutra, Yoga Sutras. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the super soul, and the monists, these are the Advaitavadis, Advaita philosophers, the monists, think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali yoga system of yoga. There is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist, but in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. Now, what is he talking about? There is duality of knowledge and the knower. Knower and knowledge are two different things. The knower will acquire knowledge and he will know about something. So there is duality. So the non-dualist, the Advaitavadis, those who think everything becomes merged, we become one with the Paramatma, everything becomes one. They think the knower and knowledge, everything and everything becomes one. Now we are trying to know the Brahman. When we liberated, we become Brahman. We become the known or the knowledge. The knower and knowledge become one. No. After liberation, still we maintain separation. But eternally engaged in servitude. So here it is said, Atindriyam. Ati Indriya means senses. Atindriyam means transcendental senses. Sukham atyantikam yaddad buddhigrahyam atindriyam. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist, but in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. That means there are senses for the soul. We think the senses are only of the body, right? There is eyes. These eyes belong to the body. These are our senses. Nose, ear, tongue, skin. But the soul also has senses. It is like this. If a man has hands, then the shirt also has hands. It's not that the shirt has hands, the man has no hand. The tailor, he will tailor the suit according to the person, right? But by the dress you can see what body, or whether the person is fat or thin or tall or whatever, we can understand by looking at the dress, because it is tailored according to the body. So similarly, if our body is a dress, so it is tailored according to the soul. So if this body has eyes, the soul also has eyes. Actually, these eyes cannot see. These ears cannot hear. I say, what are you talking? Yeah, because the dead body has eyes and ears. What can it see? So the body does not see, the eyes do not see. The soul sees through the eyes. It's like if there is a window, the window does not see, you see through the window. Correct? So these eyes are just like the windows. And the soul is seeing, we are seeing. If there is no occupant in the house, the windows will still be there, but there is nobody seeing through the window. Like that. So the senses are actually of the soul, Atindriyam. So this is real philosophy. So Mayavadis, they don't accept this. And this is corroborated by Patanjali Muni, the famous exponent of the yoga system. The great sage declares in his Yoga Sutras, actually the Patanjali also accepts transcendental body and transcendental senses. Purushartha shunyanam gunanam pratiprasavah kaivalyam swarupa pratishtha va chitishaktiriti. Chitishaktir. This chitishakti or internal potency is transcendental. Purushartha means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end they attempt to become one with the Supreme. This is Purushartha. Chaturvidha Purushartha. What is that? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means religiosity, religious principles. Economic development, Artha. Sense gratification, Kama. And Moksha, liberation. So these are the Purusharthas. Purusharthas means the goals that are to be, that we should work towards as human beings. First, religious principles. Then there has to be some endeavor for economic development. Not like now. Economic development, Vedic economics means not like now. Now there is extravagance, unnecessary economics. But Vedic economics means as long as we can sustain our body and soul together, minimum, so that the maximum amount of time can be utilized for inquiry into the absolute truth and engaging in the service of the absolute truth, because that is the real goal of human life. This is more or less a distraction, the body. But because the body has to be maintained, there has to be some time allocated for it, there has to be some resources allocated to it. But otherwise, it's actually an unnecessary thing. It's a waste, it's a distraction. Like sleeping is necessary for the body, but it's a waste of time. We're just sleeping. What are we doing? Of course, the body is recharging. The soul does not need sleep. And those who are so spiritually advanced, they can conquer sleep. Like Arjuna is called Gudakesha. Even the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were also Nidra Hara Vihara Kadi Vijito. Not only Nidra, Ahara also. Nidra Hara Vihara also. Viharak means recreation. All material activities, bring it to almost to the point of nil. So economics, there has to be just enough for our maintenance. What should we maintain it for? That is the thing. Just like a car, again, the example. If I purchase a car and I keep on modifying the car and maintaining, and then every time going to the, car shop, always modifying, putting this sticker, putting that paint, putting this rims on the wheel and putting a different color on here and different color there. What am I doing? Why did I buy the car for? To go somewhere and get something done. So if I don't do that, if I just go to the, this mechanic shop, and this, and then only maintenance, and then make it very colorful, very glittery, very sound, whatever. So this is waste of time. It should be used as much as, what is it used for? To get something done. So get something done with it. So our body is a vehicle. Human body is a very suitable vehicle. Animal body also is body, but it's not a suitable vehicle to inquire into the absolute truth. Who am I? Who is God? Where am I coming from? All these questions cannot be put forth by a dog. So if a human being does not put forth these questions, he is a dog. And our modern civilization is civilization of dogs and cats. No inquiry. What is the use of this? So this is Purushartha. Religiosity, economic development, and this Kama means regulated sense gratification. Animals also have Kama, lust. They fulfill in their own way. But humans are not supposed to fulfill like the animals. The animal can have sex with mother, sister, daughter, it doesn't matter. But the human beings cannot do like this. It is considered irreligious. It is considered sinful. But when the dog does it, it is not sinful. Because he has no brain to understand what is sinful, what is pious, what is right, what is wrong. Humans have the brain. But if they choose not to use it, then they will get sufficient facility to behave without any brains. Next life become dog. And then finally moksha, regulated sense gratification, like kama, for example. There is vivaha yajna, marriage. Marriage, what is marriage? Marriage is a regulation. Otherwise, unrestricted sex is very detrimental to our not only health, but our spiritual life, our real aim of life. So therefore there is regulation. Okay, only one woman. Of course, previously in Vedic age, the main rule is that the woman must be married, but the man need not get married. So is this dilemma. So some men, they used to be remaining as brahmacharis. Some, and also it is a fact that there will be more women than men. And all women must get married. And all men need not get married. So the only way that this is possible is one man accept more than one wife sometimes. So therefore we have in our Vedic history many times, even great sages, great kings, they had more than one wife. But in Kali Yuga, forget about it. One wife itself is a problem. There is no means. Both husband and wife are working just to maintain this. And what if so many women? Right? So it's a very unstable situation. But previously, even though they had many wives and many children, they used to be able to maintain. And comfortably, not like really struggling. No. They used to be able to maintain. Like I said, Kauravas, they had 100 sons, they were. No problem. Krishna had how many? He had 16,108 wives. With each wife he had 10 sons and 1 daughter. 161,800 children. And his grandchildren, each of them had 10. So at the time of Kurukshetra war, his family was into millions. That is Krishna. No problem. For Krishna, everybody is one should not think, oh, he's so lusty, he has so many wives. No, Krishna says, Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradapeta. Not only this 1 million to, 1.6 million or 16. No. Every living entity that exists in every species of life is my child. I am the father of all of them. So what is the big deal that he has only 1 million grandchildren? Nothing. There's nothing for him. 1 million is what? It's like 0 something % of our current world population. The world population means we're talking about human beings only. Ants, trees, we're not counting anything. All the other species we're not counting. Human beings. So 1 million is nothing. So Purushartha. Human life is having these 4 Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But then there is Panchama Purushartha, which is even higher than liberation. That is love of Godhead. Prema Pumartho Mahan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us this. Love of Godhead is even higher than moksha, way higher. So, Purushartha means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, the attempt to become one with the Supreme. This oneness with the Supreme is called Kaivalyam by the monist. But according to Patanjali, this Kaivalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which the living entity becomes aware of his constitutional position. In the words of Lord Chaitanya, this state of affairs is called Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. The mirror of the heart is cleansed. When Samadhi means the mirror has been completely cleansed. Our mind is like a mirror. Our heart or mind is like a mirror. Whatever you put before it, it will reflect. So, if I associate with drunkards, I may also become a drunkard. If I associate with gangsters, I also may become a gangster. If I associate with soccer players, I may become a soccer player. That's why there are clubs, different associations. So we also have association of devotees so that we can become devotee. We reflect the qualities of whom we associate with. I think there is one, even mundane, there was a quote like this. You show me your 5 closest friends and I'll tell you what kind of person you are. Okay? So, that is true. So, because we are a reflection of our association. Karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janma. So, according to our association, we are developing desires and we are developing bodies as well to fulfill those desires. So, if that mirror is fully covered, it's like with dust, we cannot see ourselves clearly. But if the Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Darpan means mirror, when it's cleansed, then we can see clearly. So our heart is now dirty. There's all kinds of dust of materialism. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. So that has to be cleansed. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, or clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. Hare Krishna. In clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. This clearance is actually liberation. Or Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. The theory of Nirvana, also preliminary, corresponds with this principle. In the Bhagavatam 2.10.6, this is called Swarupena Vyavasthiti. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms this situation in this verse. So Nirvana means Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. All the blazing, Davagni means a forest fire. Forest fire means it does not happen with our desire. So the bamboos, they just rub and then they spark and then the dry bamboo will catch fire and then it just goes on and on. The whole forest is burnt. Swarupena Vyavasthiti. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms the situation in this verse. After Nirvana or material cessation, there is the manifestation of spiritual activities or devotional service to the Lord. It is like this. When we are diseased, when we have a disease, suppose I have a fever, then I can walk, I can eat, I can sit, but with great difficulty and without taste, with a lot of suffering. So, activity, that is activity, but that is unhealthy activity or activity when the health is not proper. But that does not mean, this is activity means it is a diseased condition, so when I am out, when I am healthy, that means I have no more activity. No, that time activity will be even more, you will be more active when you are healthy, right? So actually the soul is active by nature. But in our current state, we are active in a very limited way, in a very painful way. So after liberation, activities will be really our spiritual activities. You see? This is the real life of the living entity. Maya or illusion is the condition of spiritual life contaminated by material infection. Our body is an infection of the soul. Just like when we have a boil, it's an infection, it should not be there. But it has come somehow. So similarly, our body itself is an infection on the soul. It should not be there, actually. The body should not have been there. But we contaminated ourselves with materialistic thought and we have taken on these bodies. So liberation from this material infection does not mean destruction of the original eternal position of the living entity. So liberation sometimes, as we said, there was monists, Advaitavadis. They say, after liberation we merge into nothingness. It is like, if I have a cataract in my eye, it means I have a problem with my eye. Now there are two ways to solve this problem. One way is remove the cataract. The other way is remove the eye. Both cases you will not have cataract. But removing the eye, what kind of cure is that? Eye has a problem, take out the eye. Now no more problem. No more eye also. So that is nonsense. That is not how you solve a problem. So these monists say like that. Activity is a problem in this material world. So stop all activity. Commit suicide. Spiritual suicide. So liberation from this material infection does not mean destruction of the original eternal position of the living entity. Patanjali also accepts this by his words, Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtha Va Chiti Shakti Riti. This Chiti Shakti or transcendental pleasure is real life. Just like when we become healthy, then we become actually active, full of energy, full of vitality. Then we can really enjoy life. So similarly, when we become spiritually healthy, completely out of this infection, then we become really happy. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12 as Anandamayo Bhyasat. This natural transcendental pleasure is the ultimate goal of yoga. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. The rascal who is dancing in the club and pub, he also wants to become happy by drinking and by some association of women. He wants to become happy like that. And the person who is eating meat, he also wants to be happy. The dog also wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. But what is that? Sukham atyantikam yattat buddhi grahyam atindriyam. The happiness that is continuous and unending, ever increasing. That happiness, that Brahma Saukyam, that spiritual happiness is accessible to human beings. So people think, I want to be happy, why are you asking me to stop meat eating and illicit sex, gambling, intoxication? I am enjoying my life, why do you ask me to stop? So this is temporary happiness thereafter. We are asking them to stop because if you can stop and if you can divert your attention to this, Krishna consciousness, then you can achieve complete happiness, unlimited. Why are you running after this? Actually, it is not even happiness, that thing. Stated like this. This is 7.9.45 Srimad Bhagavatam. Yanmaithunadigrhamedhi sukham hi tuchham kandoyanena karayoriva dukkha dukkham tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhajah kanduti vanmanasicham vishaheta dhira. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grahamedhis, so-called grahasthas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness. Although actually it is a source of distress. Like when we feel itchy, when we scratch, we feel nice. Only until we stop scratching. After that it is painful. So sex life is like that. It's an itching sensation, and if we just try to scratch it, then it will be miserable after that. The Kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are Dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. So this is material life. It is a very painful condition, but they think it is happiness. That is the illusion, that is Maya. Maya sukhaya bharam udvahato vimodham. Sukham, yes, they are having sukham, Maya sukha. Suffering they are accepting as happiness and continuing. Why are you disturbing? They will ask. So, we have to be aware of that unlimited happiness. And that is also there. This is actually human life. Human life is meant for this happiness. 5.5.1 of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 1st verse. Rishabha uvacha nayam deho deha bhajam nirloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam shuddhedyasmad brahma saukhyam tvanantam. Lord Rishabdev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. Pigs and dogs, they eat stool. They also have sense gratification. So human beings should not work hard day and night for the same thing in a sophisticated manner. But then what should human beings do? One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. Sattvam shuddhyet. And when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. Anantam Brahma Saukhyam tu Anantam. Why do we want this Antavattu Phalam? Why this happiness which just ends with time? Even if I can enjoy entire life, when death comes, it is finished. First of all, we cannot enjoy a whole life. But even if, say for just argument's sake, okay, whole life I will enjoy, then death will come and interrupt. So why should we be interrupted in our happiness? Have uninterrupted happiness. That is the verdict, that is the suggestion of the Vedas. So this natural transcendental pleasure is the ultimate goal of yoga and is easily achieved by execution of devotional service or bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga will be vividly described later, beginning in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the yoga system described in this chapter, there are two kinds of samadhi called samprajñāta samadhi and asamprajñāta samadhi. When one becomes situated in the transcendental position by various philosophical researchers, he is said to have achieved samprajñāta samadhi. In the asamprajñāta samadhi, there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure, for one is then transcendental to all sorts of happiness derived from the senses. When the yogi is once situated in that transcendental position, he is never shaken from it. So this is a very important thing. So unless the yogi is able to reach this position, he is unsuccessful. If you go to the central business district, we have yoga studios. They said the true yoga, real yoga, but it's exact opposite. It's untrue, it's unreal. It's a nonsense, bogus yoga we're having. Real yoga means he has to come to this point where unshaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham. Once he attains, he knows for sure now that he has attained the highest thing. There is nothing higher than this. Usually everybody thinks like that. And when they have achieved something, oh, this is best. But then they will immediately after that they will hanker for the next thing. But na shochati na kankshati brahma bhuta prasannatma. One who has achieved this brahma bhuta stage, he will never hanker for anything because he knows he has reached the limit of knowledge and happiness. Of course, there the happiness increases there, but there is no more hankering. There is no more wanting something else for happiness. No, that devotional service will make him more and more happy. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. And he will easily give up all kinds of things in this material world. Today's so-called yoga practice, which involves various sense pleasures, is contradictory. A yogi indulging in sex and intoxication is a mockery. Even those yogis who are attracted by the siddhis or perfections in the process of yoga are not perfectly situated. Now when a yogi really practices yoga, there's pranayama and asana, niyama, niyama, everything. Even then when he gets mystic powers, like there are many yogis in the Himalayas who have great mystic powers, even that is a distraction. What to speak of this ordinary fit body and these things. Even those actual siddhis that one will get by yoga practice, even they are distractions, because that is not the real goal. If yogis are attracted by the byproducts of yoga, they are all byproducts of yoga. A fit body is a byproduct of yoga. And mystic powers, they may sound magical. Actually, they can do magical things, not just sleight of hand. Magicians do sleight of hand. They actually cheat you. They're not doing anything really. But they are good at illusion. They're illusioning us. But these yogis, they can actually do magic. Real. Wonderful things they can do. But even that is a distraction. These are all byproducts of yoga. Real yoga is Krishna consciousness. To be completely situated in Krishna's service. If yogis are attracted by the byproducts of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection as is stated in this verse. It will inhibit their progress. Persons therefore indulging in the make-show practice of gymnastic feats or siddhis should know that the aim of yoga is lost in that way. The best practice of yoga in this age is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling. A Krishna conscious person is so happy in his occupation that he does not aspire after any other happiness. There are many impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practicing Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and Jnana Yoga, but there is no such problem in executing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. As long as the material body exists, one has to meet the demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending and mating. But a person who is in pure Bhakti Yoga or in Krishna consciousness does not arouse the senses while meeting the demands of the body. It does not arouse the senses to more than what is necessary. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, making the best use of a bad bargain. What is the best use of a bad bargain? It is a bad bargain. Bargain means you demand and you somehow get something. But then you realize actually it's not so good enough. That is a bad bargain. So, what is this bad bargain? So, we have bargained for this body. It is a bad bargain. It's not a good thing. We are supposed to not have a material body, but we now have. Although human body is the best of all material bodies, but still it is a material body and it comes with suffering. It's a package. So, it was a bad bargain. We asked for it. Where did I ask? Where did I bargain? When did I bargain? No, that's by our activities. We have bargained for this body. Krishna said, no, I will give you highest pleasure. I'll take you back to Godhead. No. I want this. I want to be happy here. I bargained for it. Bad bargain. Now at least make best use of the bad bargain. Okay, I've done mistake. You know how you feel when you bargain something second hand and then come home and say the defective part. It doesn't work. It's a bad bargain. What can you do with it? So yeah, it's like that. It's already it's a defective part we have this body. But at least there is use to this. We can put it to good use. And then after that we can achieve our real body. Supposed to achieve. So rather he accepts the bare necessities of life. So he doesn't get too much over anxious to maintain this body. Makes the bare necessities of life, kamasya nendriya pritim, and makes the best use of a bad bargain and enjoys transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. He is callous toward incidental occurrences such as accidents, disease, scarcity, and even the death of a most dear relative. What is that? He is callous toward incidental occurrences. He knows these things are going to happen, bound to happen. Today or tomorrow, this will happen. Nobody can live forever. Accidents, disease, scarcity, and even the death of a most dear relative. But he is always alert. Callous means what? He is indifferent to this. But he is always alert to execute his duties in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. Accidents never deviate him from his duty. When we are talking about now, a stage of happiness which is transcendental to material senses. But here we are talking about incidences like accidents and all this. These are not happy situations. So the thing is, it's not to be, It's not to be in a situation where there is no miseries, no. But even in the midst of all miseries, one is completely not shaken. That is the real test. In the midst of all challenges, if one can be completely alert to his spiritual Krishna consciousness, that is the test of advancement. Because we can chant Hare Krishna, but when something happens, we'll start crying or we'll start fearing, that means we have not understood. That is the time we'll chant more. We'll stop chanting. So when somebody passes away in India, they say, in South India they say Govinda, Govinda. In North India they say Ram Nam Satya Hai. When somebody passes away, they are chanting no name of God. When they are living, they don't chant. If Ram Nam is Satya Hai, in fact, if you say Ram Nam Satya, hey, don't say like that, somebody will die. They had this, I told once, I think, a few times I told, that they invented one, they wanted to stop people from smoking, discourage them. So there is like this can dispensers of drinks, vendor machine. So they put vendor machine for cigarettes. So you put 5 rupees, I don't know how much nowadays is the cost. So you put that coin and the cigarette will come out. But then they put sound also. Ram Nam Satya. The person was, and they put videos. They put a secret recording of video and they published it on the YouTube. Ram Nam Satya is feared, shaken. He's scared of the cigarette or the Ram Nam, I don't understand. So, for them, Ram Nam is a source of fear. It should not be. In fact, fear runs away when you chant the name of Ram. So, the meaning is that everything about this body and anything related to it is not Satya. It is temporary. Whereas Ram's Nam is eternal. Let us focus on that. Let us not focus on this temporary body, which is the source of all troubles. That is the meaning of this. It's not a mantra to be chanted when somebody dies. Actually, they don't know why they chant. We went to one funeral where few years back, and from the house to the crematorium, everybody was chanting Ram Nam Satya Hai, Ram Nam Satya Hai, all the way. But other than that funeral ceremony, they never chant. They never chant. But that one continuously they chant. It means what is the understanding? If it's Satya Hai, why are you not chanting? So accidents never deviate him from his duty. In fact, Pandava's life was like that. They were always in the midst of accidents, midst of all kinds of conspiracies by the Kauravas. But never did they deviate. Never did they even doubt Krishna. Krishna, we are following everything. We are your great devotees. The Kauravas are not even doing anything. They are completely irreligious people. How come they are having fine time and we are suffering in the forest? They never complain. And that is a sign of a devotee. He doesn't care whether he's in the forest or whether he's in the palace. He doesn't care. So it's the same thing for him. Agama-payano nityastam stitikshasva bharata. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go and do not affect his duties. If somebody passes away, actually does it stop us from serving the Lord? Chanting? No. Nobody is sealing our mouth. When somebody passes away, nobody is sealing our mouth from chanting. But we are not able to chant because of our attachment. Actually, it is not a hindrance for our chanting or for our doing service. How a person somewhere who has passed away can block my hands from moving, my legs from moving, my mouth from chanting the name of God? No. There is nothing that is blocking me. I am not in a jail. So, there is actually nothing stopping. But we stop because our mind is disturbed. Mind is disturbed. So our advancement means we should not be disturbed by these things. We should know that these will come. Just like good times come, bad times also will come. So we don't need to be too much excited for good times and too much dejected for bad times. You have to tolerate these things. Tolerate not only the miseries, but tolerate the so-called happy situations also. Because they are also distractions. If you get promotion, yeah, promotion, and then you forget chanting in that celebration. The demigods, they are saying our life in this heavenly planets is so much full of happiness that we forget you, my Lord. We forget. Whereas the inhabitants of the earth, they are more fortunate because they don't have this scale of sense gratification, lesser. So there is some misery. So that reminds them of the Lord easily. Whereas for us, we are too distracted with so-called happiness. Too many beautiful girls. Too much somarasa. Too long a lifespan. Too nice gardens. Nandana. Too much distraction. And the standard of life, just like Singapore standard of life, is like kind of better than an Indian standard of life. So like that in the heavenly planets, the standard of life is way higher, thousands and millions of times higher than on the earth. So in that kind of standard of life, it's easy to forget the Lord. Very easy. So we have to come to a state where Narayana para sarve nakutaschana bibhyati svarga apavarga narakesho api tulyartha darshina. A devotee, a real devotee, whether he is in the Svarga or Naraka or Apavarga, he has become liberated from this material world. For him it is the same thing. Because he is always engaged in the service of the Lord. No matter where he is and when he is. He is always serving the Lord. That is the position of yoga we have to reach. And then only can we remain undisturbed. Previous verse, in the previous class of Bhagavad Gita, I think last Wednesday, not this, I think previous Wednesday, we did 6.19 verse. And in that verse, Yatha Deepa, what is that? Nivatastho. Yatha Deepa Nivatastho. That means the consciousness of such a person is like the lamp in a windless place. The lamp does not even waver a little bit. So the mind of a transcendentalist is like that, of a devotee. A proper devotee. But we discussed also that a lamp will not waver only because of its atmosphere. If there is no wind in the atmosphere, then it will not waver. But if there is wind, it will waver. But here it is said that the yogi, he should be like the lamp in a windless place even though there is a storm. How is it possible? The storm going on, how can the lamp not move? It is possible by creating a bubble, a capsule of atmosphere. Just like when we are on the plane, the atmospheric pressure outside is different. If there was, if the plane is not a contained space, it's like a car, there is some cars have no roof, no. So it's like you can if you put your hand, you can feel the wind. So if the plane was like that, it will be a horrible experience, right? So how are we remaining as if still on a plane that is moving hundreds of kilometers an hour, meters above the earth, so kilometers above the earth? How are we sitting there as if we are sitting on here? Usually wind comes that speed means all our face will be disfigured and will disintegrate into the air. But the face is not becoming like that. How? Because it's a capsuled environment and the pressure is maintained. So we have to maintain an atmosphere of this spiritual status of Krishna consciousness. So this consciousness, our consciousness, is what determines our steadfastness in such situations. So we have to be having our own capsule of Krishna consciousness where the atmosphere is just right. So that is possible undisturbed by outside. Like when we are in the plane, we are undisturbed by the outside conditions, whether it is clouded or cloudy, or whether it's a sun, bright sun, or whether we're moving at Mach 2, like what is that? Twice the speed of sound or whatever. We're in the plane, we don't get affected by all these external factors. So, we have to be in Krishna consciousness. Then, yes. That is called yoga. Then in the worst storm also we can be fixed without any issue. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go and do not affect his duties. In this way he achieves the highest perfection in yoga practice. So this is the summary of this point. These 4 verses. It's about the trance in yoga. What is the stage of trance? Nowadays people like to do this trance, like this. We went to one place where there was some Hanuman worship going on. And we don't usually go to these places where they don't really follow our principles. So anyway, he said we want Hare Krishna Kirtan. So okay, fine. Because of that we went. And there is Hanuman Vigraha. And we were doing Kirtan. Hare Krishna, everybody was singing. This is many years back. Then the priest who was doing the Hanuman, some puja, something he was doing. So everybody was chanting Hare Krishna. Suddenly the priest sat down near the Hanuman statue, started like this, doing like fits, And everybody stopped Kirtan and go and touch his feet and fall down at him, give donations. Hanuman has come into his body. Trance, he has gone into trance. Hanuman has come, so we must do something, we have to fall at his feet. And in the end, only we 5, I think 4 or 5 people were there, Kirtan, our devotee, our temple devotee, we were only singing and dancing. We were laughing, we cannot stop our laughter. What nonsense is going on, What is this shaking, and then everybody was just bowing down, and then this is so-called Hinduism today. Today Hinduism is this. Zero knowledge of the scriptures. Nothing they know of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the standard of trance? What we are studying today this is trance. Not some shaking like fits, Go to the hospital if you have a problem. Why you fall down at his feet? You have to take him to the hospital. Call the ambulance. 995. Take him to the hospital. But this is the Hinduism now. Any guy who comes and says, I am Baba, I am God, I am this and that, they will put his picture in the altar first. What if he is really God? No? We will offend him and we'll get cursed. Better put there. No harm in putting. This is the Hindu thinking nowadays. Brainless, so completely brainless. Zero knowledge of scriptures. So we cannot be like this. We have to know what Bhagavad Gita is. Then we will not be cheated. People sometimes criticize, how you can talk like this? How can you say this Baba is wrong, that Yogi is wrong, this Mahant is wrong? Only if you know these things, then you will know that he is not a Yogi, Baba and Mahant. He is a rascals of the first order, cheating the whole public. And when we talk like this, they don't like. It's not our words. Krishna himself is saying, Mudha, Vimudha, Pashanda. These words Krishna is using, not my words. So this is trance, where one is completely Krishna conscious. Completely conscious of Krishna. Always engaged in service of Krishna. Never at a time forgetting Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnur, Vismartava na jatuchit. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. So when one is in that position, he is in trance. Trance does not, this show off is not trance. This is shaking all the, it means that he is an idiot if he is doing that. Yes, there are symptoms of ecstasy. But a person who gets those ecstatic symptoms in real Krishna consciousness is called Ashta Sattvika Vikar. That such a person does not show his ecstatic symptoms. He will try with great force to suppress them. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, just like a chaste woman will cover her body and not expose her body to everybody. So similarly, a chaste devotee who is chaste to Krishna, he does not like to show off his ecstasy just to get some cheap adoration from the public. He keeps it hidden. There is a nice incident where Daruka is a charioteer of Krishna. So when he is not driving the chariot, then he will fan the Lord with the chamra whisk, the white color chamra. whisk. So he is fanning the Lord, and because of his ecstasy that he is fanning the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in such thought his throat became choked up with ecstatic emotion, and his hair started to stand on end, and tears were coming out of his eyes, and he cannot even see the Lord. So he condemned himself. These things are stopping my service. He forcibly stopped those symptoms and continued with the service. Service must go on. Seva must go on. Not that, you see, tears are coming. Look at me. Tears are coming out. See, tears. Can you see? This is not devotee, rascal number one. Yeah? This is not trance. This is rascaldom. He was trying to stop his tears. He is trying to stop his throat from choking up, just so that the seva must go on. So that is the real devotee. So we should know these standards. So when we see Bhagavad Gita, when we read, when we understand, then we know how to discern what is right, what is wrong. Otherwise we will be misled. So many misleaders nowadays. One of them has a name Sadguru. Big guru. Sadguru means bona fide spiritual master. But he is talking rubbish. People like him. Because why? He juggles his words. But one who knows Bhagavad Gita, he can see that he is a rascal number one. Not only he, many are like this. If we start to name, some people will get offended. Hey, how can you talk like this? He has millions of followers. So what? So what if he has millions of followers? As if they are the judges of religion. They are. Those who have never read the Bhagavad Gita, they are judges of religion, religious principles, and they are supposed to give a stamp of approval of who is actually bona fide and who is not. We take certificate from a street sweeper, or we take certificate from the professor, dean of the university. Who gives the certificate? One who is learned and one who is a fool. It doesn't matter whether Kali Yuga, in fact, cheaters will have millions of followers because they want to get cheated. Kali Yuga is full of cheaters and cheated. Krishna says devotees are minority. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Out of thousands among humans, one will endeavor, try to endeavor for perfection. And yatatam api siddhanam kaschin vettimaham tattvata. Out of millions of those who are trying to achieve perfection, hardly one comes to the point of devotional service, and he is the perfect person. Manushyanam, out of millions, one is a minority. It isn't a majority. In the material world is a prison house. In a prison, you will not find sane people. You will find criminals. So to find a sane person among the prison house, it is very rare, a minority. But in the ordinary society, to find a criminal is rare. Criminal is a minority, whereas lawful persons are majority. Similarly, in the spiritual world, the lawful souls who actually are obedient to the Lord, they are the only. There is no minority of criminals there. Once you are a criminal, you come put here. So what is our crime? We wanted to enjoy separately from the Lord. So that's why the crime. And that's how it started. We came here. So now we have to rectify that. That is this whole position, this whole endeavor that we're trying here. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments on this topic, you can ask. No questions online. Anybody has any questions? You have a question? Yes.
You just mentioned there is a reason for this life becoming.
Can't hear you.
There is a reason why we have to
Yes.
If someone, you also mentioned suicide, if someone dies forcefully, suicide, does God see that as sin? Because He sent here a miracle purpose. So if you are killing yourself, is it something like that?
So the Lord did not send us here for a meaningful purpose. Meaningful purpose was, the meaningful thing to do is to serve Krishna. We have chosen to do this unmeaningful thing, and He is giving us facility now. Now Krishna has given us a body. Now coming to the point of suicide, yes, it is definitely because the body is not our property. It is Krishna's property. So we have actually no right to end it according to our whims, whether our body or another person's body, whether to kill another person or to kill our own body. We have no right. So it is because it is His property. We have to use it in His service. So for that we will be punished. It is definitely a sin. And for that He will remain as a ghost for many years. Sometimes hundreds of years. He will not get another body immediately. So one should not commit suicide. पापिष्ठाय दुराचारा देव ब्राह्मण निंदका अपथ्य भोजनस्तेषाम अकाले मरणं ध्रुवम. For those who are sinful, extremely sinful, and durachar, very misbehaved, completely acting against the Vedic scriptures. Deva Brahmana Nindaka, those who offend the Brahmanas and the Devatas and the devotees. Apatya Bhojanas Tesham, those who eat anything and everything. Nowadays the culture is anything that moves you can eat. That is today's. There's no discrimination in eating. Any damn thing you can eat. So, this kind of things we do, then akale maranam dhruvam, untimely death is assured for such a person. So whether by suicide or by accident, all these things are, results of bad karma, sinful activities. But if we come to Krishna consciousness, whether we die or live, it doesn't matter. Because the soul will continue in his devotional path. So any other questions? So if there are not, we will stop it here. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.